You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here on this Victory Monday where the Steelers get it done. Third straight week, they stack a W. This one, though, a little different. 29-24 over the Detroit Lions. And Matt, let's jump right into it. I think you'll echo this sentiment, and it's something we've talked about before. We're both very lucky to do what we do for a living.
Sure, it's great.
It beats the hell out of swinging a hammer or crunching numbers in an office all day, like real work that some people do.
Like a real job, right?
But you can also, I don't care how much you love what you do, how cool it is, you can also kind of get jaded at sometimes. It becomes a little routine. It becomes a little monotonous.
Oh, yeah. And we put in a lot of hours, and the season wears us out, too. And, right.
And again, I'm not like, oh, woe is me, but we watch a ton of football, from August to January, February, a ton of football. And it can, at times,
an idiot every day, and it can wear on you a little.
Matt's in love with Myles Garrett. Tell him to shut up.
Right. Oh, it's Browns week too.
It can wear on you a little bit, and like I do a ton of traveling, and at this point in the year, it's like you can see the finish line on the horizon a little bit, and you're like, let's get this thing moving, let's get it done. It can become a little routine. It can become a little monotonous. Yesterday, though, was one of those, remind yourself why you love doing this type days and type games.
Yeah, 100%,
that was unbelievable.
It was.
We're privy to watch, to be at a ton of football games. Just in these 4 years that I've been traveling with the team, Matt, if you include preseason now, I've been, close to 80 Steelers games in the last few years.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. They added quick. I remember dealing with Dale, when he started going through the stadiums.
Yeah, he's been to probably close to 40 stadiums.
Yeah, he went to every game for 30-some years or whatever.
No matter how much you love something, no matter how much it's really cool to be able to do what you do, it can become routine, it can become monotonous, but then you get a game like yesterday that smacks you in the face and is like, this is what you do for a living. These are the type of games we live for. And that was, I know a lot of people say a lot of hyperbolic, overreactionary stuff, Matt, but I don't think I'm doing so here about 24 hours later. That was an incredible all-time time capsule type win for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and I think it also applies to fans. I started my football love as a fan.
Totally.
A lot of people started as a player or daddy played or whatever, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of times that people will be like, I'm tired of rooting for this team or blah, blah, you know what I mean? But then you get a game like that, and it's like, I'm not a golfer, but people will be like, man, I hit them terrible, but then I hit that one drive on 18, and I'm like, now I'm coming back, and I totally get that feeling. And the fans see it differently. I mean, it's leisure, it's drinks, it's food, it's friends. Awesome. That's what it's all about, and that's why it's part of the great part about our jobs is we get to help interact with that. But I do think you get one like that, and you're like, wow, this is really fun, and it makes the whole season worth it. Now, I want to take this opportunity too that we're about to play the cover Steelers Browns for this week, and I spent a year in that organization. And if we covered the Browns, I'd be fine too. I mean, we'd still be very fortunate. But the fact that they've just set the record for not having any losing seasons, I know gets swept under the rug. Just show me the Super Bowls and the playoff wins. But the fact that all these games count this late all the time, every year, please just realize that that's not the case in 32 cities. You know what I mean?
I think that's well said by you. I do think that non-losing season thing gets weaponized sometime, like you said, of I'd rather do the up and down and win more Super Bowls and win more playoff games.
There's a strong argument for that. Right.
But that's also hard to do.
Oh, it's not like you're going to – most times you push your chips in after the Dolphins, who they just play.
Exactly right.
Push your chips in, you lose.
Look at a team like the Bengals, who, went to a Super Bowl and then an AFC championship game and looked like they were going to be a mainstay for a while, and they haven't been back to the playoffs since now in 3 or 4 straight years. So,
I mean, even Ravens and Chiefs and teams like this are going to be starting the Lions. Did our window close? Even if we have a great quarterback and a great team, I'm sure they'll all be good next year, but you don't know that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it was one of those Sundays where it felt like everything came together for exactly what you wanted, exactly what you needed. And the ending of that game, I mean, so much in that game would normally kind of dominate a show, or at least our first couple segments here.
How about that catch Gainwell made? Like, that's like 10th on the list.
That's exactly
right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Chris Boswell missing a big field goal and a big point.
Right.
The Lions
probably seals the game if he makes it.
The Lions having 51 seconds time of possession in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, all these different things that we will discuss, but Matt,
outrushed them by way over 200 yards. Like this hasn't been the norm all year.
What's crazier is that you held them to like 18 yards rushing or 20-some yards rushing?
I think it was 15.
15 yards rushing, but Jared Goff threw for 364 yards, just all over the place in that one. It looked for a long time. I was like, through the third quarter, I was laughing. Here go Matt and I getting it totally wrong again, talking about how
I've missed a lot of predictions.
You're going to have to score 28 or more points to win this game. This is going to be a high-scoring game, and all of a sudden at that point it's 12-10. It's like an old school, knock down, drag them out, low-scoring type battle. And then that fourth quarter, just insane by both teams. And Matt, I know some people are looking at it like the defense fell apart, and how was that possible? Because they were so well rested and all these different things.
Hey, that was a concern. It is concerning.
Sure, and we can talk about that, but I'm looking at it glass half full, and I'm saying every time wasn't it nice to see the offense be the one draw the line in the sand for a while? Wasn't it nice to see the offense pick up the defense and not the other way around? The offense being the one that's like, you need us to go out there and respond. Okay, here's a touchdown. Okay, here's another touchdown.
Yeah.
Like that to me was incredibly encouraging. We talk so much about slow starts for the Steelers offense. We talk so much about what had been third quarter woes for the Steelers offense. He scored 17 points in the fourth quarter when they needed that type of quarter more than any other point in the year.
And they came out in the third quarter and were quite good. Had the long, sustained drive that we've been begging for. And a couple things. I definitely think at this stage, and this league changes very quick. I mean, we don't think that this is all settled, and you might not even make the playoffs.
That is still it doesn't look likely at this point, but it is still a possibility.
Still a possibility, right? Who knows? But I do feel like this version, the current version, is definitely the most well-rounded they've been. The defense can pick up the offense. The offense can pick up the defense. The running game can pick up the passing game. The run defense can pick up the pass defense, etc. And the special teams are solid too. And I think the coaching staff has adapted, and the roster has greatly adapted. I mean, John Ledyard put this out, that there were 5 guys in this game that played 30 snaps or more that weren't part of training camp, unless you count Pete, who was there for like the last 2 days. They weren't part of the original mix. That's a big thing I was talking about in other shows. This team and this organization is adapting. People who think they're just set in stone and they only do things one way are very, very wrong. I forget where at some point that'll come to mind, but again, I think that they can do things a lot of different ways, and complementary football can be a really broad term. Oh, the one thing I was thinking about too is Mike Pursuta on that show that I mentioned. He said this was like they're like 6-1 in save opportunities for the defense. And I thought that's a good way of putting it. It's like, they let up a lot of runs in the ninth. He brought the closer out. And it wasn't his best outing, but you still got the win and you got the save.
But the offense scored some runs,
exactly.
Knocked a couple base hits home. And
you stopped them on the 1-yard line.
Yes, outstanding. It was a winning effort, I think, all around.
Yeah. And I thought they were the better team.
I did too.
Right.
It would have been a real gut punch to lose that game. It would have felt like the Lions stole one, where you were in the driver's seat for the vast majority.
I thought about that a lot late in the game. Like, if the Lions win this, am I still going to be pretty optimistic about this team? And the answer in my mind then was yes. But it's sure better when you get the win.
100%.
You know what I mean? Right.
100%. Steelers players to play 30 snaps or more in Detroit that were not with the team when they opened training camp or were added in season. Andres Pete, who's the one that was with the team in training camp, but the final week of camp.
Yep.
MVS added in season. Adam Thielen added in season. Kyle Duggar added in season. Asante Samuel Jr. added just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Thielen and MVS too.
Right.
It's really impressive stuff how they've been able to improve
and get these guys ready and move on from mistakes. People think they're always so set in their ways
without the cast of characters we expected.
Right. But Slay's not working. He's got to go. Right. Yeah.
100%. And a lot to digest from that one. But, Matt, I got to jump kind of right into, I need your thoughts on that final play of the game, the chaos, everything that ensued there. Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? Is that something that's going to have to be looked at in the future? Just all your thoughts on a very chaotic ending there at Ford Field.
I'm not against giving refs a hard time, and I know there's a lot of optics around the league where the refs don't look great, and that absolutely was one of them. But I don't think that was a poorly officiated game. I mean, I know there was a lot of flags in the end, and I know we're talking about only one specific play, but I didn't think they blew a lot of calls or, took the game over and, made it more about the refs than what we should have had. I think it was just a very odd play, and the fact that I mentioned Pursuta, he sat there with a stopwatch, and it was 2 minutes and 12 seconds till they could give us the answer.
It felt like that in the stadium.
It felt like three hours, and I thought they would look petrified. That they did not want to in that building. It's kind of like the Immaculate Reception kind of feel, But it's the rule, and I don't think they got it wrong. It took a while, and it wasn't the most confident. This is how it ends,
Yeah,
but
they could have certainly phrased it better for the 60,000 plus in attendance.
Exactly,
there.
And games can end on an offensive penalty. They can't end on a defense penalty.
Correct.
That's a different. That part's pretty cut and dry.
Man, that 2+ minutes there felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
And then when the ref's first words are, the result of the play is a touchdown.
And I say he phrased it really poorly.
It very poorly.
Right.
And that whole place is going so nuts and so loud and so chaos that they can't even hear the rest of what the official is saying.
And they probably see people walk off.
And they just see the Steelers celebrating. And, I mean, there's bottles being thrown. And it was just it's one of the most chaotic moments I've ever been in.
And it would have been at
stadium.
AccuShore or any stadium in America. It's just,
Absolutely. But the way that played out, I mean, when Jaylen Warren had that second of his 245-yard identical touchdown runs.
Both to the left, by the way.
Both to the left, by the way. Yes.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Also, Jaylen Warren on the show last week, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's the way it works.
I mean, Duggar comes on the show, pick 6. I mean, we might be on to something here.
Magic.
We might be on to something here. When he scored that second one, there was not some mass exodus from Ford Field, but I bet they were maybe 15% of people left.
Yeah, we're out of this.
Not some mass exodus. The place was probably still 75-80% full by the end. But for the Lions to go from that standpoint to having a chance to win it, just the roller coaster everywhere, from feeling like, okay, the offense is really about to put this away, and then Boz misses the field goal, and now all of a sudden the Lions, a touchdown wins it. It's not like a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and then it's a tie game. It's They find the end zone.
If they cross the goal line, they win. Yeah.
Despite 51 seconds of possession of time in the third quarter, despite the Steelers scoring 17 points in the fourth, here come the Lions with a real chance to win this. And then they get that kind of questionable pass interference, and they're starting to make some plays.
And I didn't think those were the wrong calls.
I didn't. I thought they were really late with the flag.
Right. I didn't love the flow of the game and the optics of that either, but when they reviewed it or Sterator was on and looked at it and said it was the right call.
Yeah. And so it was just absolute chaos there. A wild finish
bonkers
for
game.
The ages.
And you're right. It made it all worthwhile. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll win playoff games. I don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl, but it's going to be a highlight of the season any year that you play a game like that.
Yes.
And that was the game I was most confident all year that they were going to lose.
Which is funny. And we've had a few people that have tweeted us that, and I appreciate it. Like, you guys got to pick against the Steelers the rest of the way now, the two of you, because every time, it's only happened 3 times, and the Steelers won all 3 when you've both picked against them.
Might have to go out of our way if they make the playoffs to pick against them.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But yeah, just like I've gotten my notes here on back-to-back plays on that final drive, the call stands questionable on a catch. Then you get a late DPI on 4th down. And then it was a clear tripping penalty on Highsmith. I'm not saying that's a bad call. That was the right call. But they got on 3 straight plays, they got a questionable 10-yard completion and then 30 yards of penalties.
Yeah.
And
which
so
is a tough look, right?
It was like all of a sudden, here come the Lions, and not that I thought any of those things were over the top egregious, but it was like everything's going their way here at the exact wrong moment. But I think that was big for the defense to be able to draw a line in the sand in that moment when they hadn't had their best fourth quarter, when it felt like, I mean, Matt, the Lions were the proverbial snowball rolling downhill at that point.
I know.
Gaining steam, gaining momentum, knocking things out of their way. Here comes the avalanche. And you just had to make one play to kind of hold them off there. And they got it done. And I think this is, okay, so this is the part where I'll admit I'm probably being a little hyperbolic. This is also like the third straight week in a row that we've said, that's the best win of the season.
Yeah, right.
We said it in Baltimore. We said it Monday night in that dominating performance against a hot Dolphins team.
We've said it 3 Mondays in a row now. Yeah.
3 weeks in a row here, but I think this definitely was the best win of the year.
Without question. The Highsmith trip, Pursuit had a good point on this one too. It's like, yes, it was the right call. He clearly tripped the quarterback.
It's the right call.
But if you watch it, he's getting held at a ridiculous rate too. Like there could have also been a flag on him getting just dragged down and getting tackled more or less. Where else were we saying about it? Yes, I do think it was the best win of the year. And frankly, I had a problem with how the Steelers defense played in the fourth quarter because there wasn't the excuse like most of these games. Well, they've been out there 80% of the snaps. They're worn down. They didn't play hardly the third quarter. They should have been fresh. But let's not underestimate who they were playing against. That's like the best offense in the league. Total back against the wall in their building. Nothing to lose. Have totally abandoned the run at that point and are dangerous as could be. And you took that punch, and you were still standing at the end of the fight.
We got to get to a break here, but I want to talk a little bit more about that with you when we return because I do agree with you, but I've also got a little devil's advocate to play in there as we continue to dissect 29-24. The Steelers get it done at Ford Field in Detroit. I should have probably mentioned this when you talked about the setting the record, NFL record for non-losing seasons, consecutive winning seasons or non-losing seasons. One, they bumped the Cowboys out of that spot, which is always nice for the Steelers to get a one-up on the Cowboys
more thing in the
organization.
Record books or Hall of Fame or whatever,
200th win for Mike Tomlin.
I know.
That's crazy. I mean, I
think he's 12th coach ever.
That's crazy.
That's a big number.
That's a big number, and you heard Aaron Rodgers yelling about it, walking off the field. If people saw that, Aaron Rodgers was kind of in the cameras pointing to Mike Tomlin like, 200 wins, 200 for this guy. And that is certainly a very memorable way for it all to go down. Matt, I'm not in the locker rooms post-game. I'm in there pre-game to get all our equipment and all of our stuff. Post-game, as I've laid out before, it's just a mad rush to the buses and getting everything and all that. But I was told by a couple of our reporter friends that it was like the craziest locker room atmosphere that they could remember in years.
I bet there was a lot of enthusiasm and a lot to be excited about.
It felt like one of those you kind of walked into a hornet's nest, you against tens of thousands, and you found a way to get it done in a crazy spot. But let's talk a little bit more about that fourth quarter and specifically the Steelers defense when we return on the other side. Just getting started here on a Victory Monday. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this defense and the fourth quarter, Matt Williamson. You are correct. In the backdrop of these guys were barely on the field in the third, you don't want to see them kind of gasping and grasping like they were at moments in the fourth.
They were hanging on for dear life there.
They were. The one thing, though, is maybe to use the boxing analogy and kind of just to angle it differently a little bit. Your analogy of you have the chance to land some haymakers in the first few rounds and you don't, and then in the 12th round, here comes the guy and catches you on the chin one time, and all of a sudden it's like, this could go either way.
Yeah.
I think that was bound to happen with the Lions at some point in the game.
I agree with you. They're good.
I know you say this all the time, but I think it bears repeating on a day like today. Good defense in 2025 in the NFL, you have to adjust your expectations. It's not going to be 13-9 games where you hold your opponent to 180 yards and you choke them out for 60 minutes, especially against an opponent like that on the road. I think that it was at some point the Lions were going to punch back. At some point the Lions were going to find some momentum, catch you on the chin with all those playmakers they have. And they did at the probably worst possible time. But even in those moments, I felt like the Steelers, they forced a lot of 3rd and longs. They forced some 4th downs that Detroit had to convert. There
weren't coverage busts or
there was
miscommunication.
30 yards of penalties on back-to-back plays. Like, I would have loved the Steelers to have drawn a line in the sand in the 4th quarter and said, over our dead bodies, and you end up getting out of there comfortably.
It's asking a lot.
But I think with losing some guys too, right? You lose Eccles. You and I talked about this.
You're starting to get pretty thin.
The nightmare scenario of at 5:20 on Sunday, you lose someone in that secondary. You had to move Ramsey down. You had to bring Chuck Clark in. Considering the offense that they were playing, losing another piece in that secondary and having to move stuff around, being down Herbig and TJ Watt, I still think that was a hell of a winning performance by the defense.
Yeah, I think that's all extremely well said, and I agree with you. Now, I think their performance in the 4th quarter was below the line, and I think Cam Hayward said something like, we played 3 really good quarters.
He did. He did. He said that to Missy post-game, too, on the broadcast. She was like, you guys had a great effort. He was like, well, we did for 3 quarters.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that. But I also have this theory that 4th quarter defense in the NFL can be somewhat of a myth. Because these coaches figure out all your checks.
That too.
It's not always necessarily a time of possession, played too many snaps things. They don't let us hit pause and go practice on the back. They're ripping apart our cover 2 stuff. Well, we got to stick with it because that's all we practiced all week.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
These smart minds and these smart quarterbacks have been around the block. Start to figure you out just schematically. And yes, every pass rush tires. And the defense was not its usual depth situation. You couldn't just bring in Herbig off the bench and be your closer.
Sawyer is your 4th option.
And he's played a lot of snaps at this point and is dragging, I'm sure. Now, I'm not thrilled with the 4th quarter defense, but there's a lot to excuse it. And the biggest thing is that's like the best offense in the league that have ridiculous playmakers, no weather working against them, figuring
Fast track.
Out. Right.
Yep. That's the thing for me is if this would have happened against the Dolphins offense, I think I'd be much more critical.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins scored 2 touchdowns in garbage time at the end of the game.
But you got their A game in the 4th quarter.
Again, I think it was only a matter of time until the Lions got some momentum going. With that offense, with everything that you just mentioned, a desperate team at home, you're thin and worn down already on defense. And it wasn't the... I think they made them earn it moving down the field. They made them earn it with an out. Props to Jared Goff. He put that touchdown pass to T. Slaw right where. By the way, I learned that's how you pronounce his name from Rob King. Yes, it's not Tesla like everybody says. It's T. Slaw is actually how he pronounces his last name.
I've always pronounced it Tesla.
It's like slaw, like coleslaw at the end.
I don't think it's T though. I still think the
Tesla. Tesla.
You drag the A's out.
Tesla. Regardless, that was a perfect throw right in between coverage. He holds on to it. Like the Lions are going to make.
Was heating up.
The Lions are going to make those plays.
Yeah.
And
especially with their season on the line.
Especially with their season on the line, you still made them drive the whole length of the field. You still made them earn it without so many key contributors.
In Dublin, you just gave them
Jordan Addison, 80 yards down the sideline on a busted coverage, and Peyton Wilson has to run him down. So, again, I would have loved it if the defense drew a line in the sand and said, over our dead bodies, this is our game, 60 minutes. I just think in the NFL in 2025, that is so hard to do against anybody, particularly in offense as good as this one.
Yeah, that's desperate in their building, with a lot of things going for them that are starting to figure you out against a thin defense. Now, again, I'm not excusing it. It was the worst part of the game, without question, obviously. But I don't know that it's like, Steelers stink,
right.
That, throw away the baby with the bathwater type of situation here.
Yes, correct. And it felt like, for a long time there you had Jared Goff seeing ghosts. And then that touchdown pass to T. Slaw got them some momentum. Jalen Warren busts off a 45-yard run, puts you up 22-10. Then it took a drive the length of the field for Detroit. You had them in 4th down, and they converted like a 30-yard, 20-some yard, 30-yard touchdown pass. That, to me, is the frustrating part. But you had done well up until that point to force a 4th down. Kind of similar on some of those drives. Like, you forced them into 3rd and longs, you forced them into 4th down conversions. Okay, they converted them.
Yeah,
the other team
too, and they're good.
The other team's allowed to make plays too. But what they were able to do at the end, and what felt like, I mean, the Lions are set up in that 1st and goal situation, and I'm sure all of us are thinking the same thing. Like, this is over. You know, like, they're going to score here. There's going to be 21 seconds left on the clock, and you're going to have no time, and you're going to take the ultimate gut punch.
Mike had a good point about that 1st and goal, though, too. It was on the 1, right? Or it was on the 2, or it was real tight. He's like, if you noticed, they didn't run the ball. And the Lions, 9 out of 10 times, would have ran right behind Penei Sewell on 1st and goal.
Totally.
With a timeout. You know,
they had a timeout at that point as well.
You can call the timeout. And at that point, they knew they were not running the football against this defense. And you don't see that very often in the league. And you haven't seen it from the
Especially
Steelers.
from that team.
Right, from that team in particular. Now, I do think, and everyone's dealing with something, we do have to address that they had a revolving door at the center position, which is
they were on their 3rd center, right?
3rd center, right. I mean, then some of those guys had never really played. Both guards are young, too, so their usual strength of being the O-line is the strength. Now, I also think the Steelers coaching staff deserves a lot of credit. They took advantage of those things. You know, like Mike was saying a big theme around the facility all week was we're going to attack the guards. You know, and assuming they probably thought Glasnow was playing the starting center.
Sure.
The guards were both young players,
sure,
many snaps. Well, they attacked up the middle with blitzes. And
yes, they
Hayward
did.
Was great as usual, and Harmon and Benton did some good things too. And I was real worried about the edge pressure. Well, how could you not be? I mean,
Sawyer and Highsmith both had a couple big TFLs.
Yeah, but they generated stuff up the middle. Romo in the call kept saying, boy, Steelers are doing a lot of interior blitz stuff that is affecting Goff. To your point, that he was not playing his best at that point.
The Tesla touchdown was actually the earlier one in the 2nd quarter. I got mixed up there. Now that this is all coming back to me on just a couple hours of sleep. There's just so many moments in that game. I mean, you have the Gainwell incredible catch that we'll talk about a little bit more here in the next.
He needs discussed.
He absolutely does. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then at one point you come out of the halftime there in the 3rd quarter and you're driving and it looks like you're about to take the lead, and Mount Washington has that fumble near the goal line. Oddly enough, in like the same spot that Kenneth Gainwell caught that pass
I didn't put two and two together
the Darnell.
Yeah.
It was like almost the same exact spot, and it's like, oh man, that's a big missed opportunity. But then you get the safety, and you take the weird 12 to 10 lead. You get aggressive on 4th down. You convert to Scotty Miller of all people, and then you go for it on 4th down again. You do the trick Pittsburgh plunge with Gainwell around the edge. The Darnell OPI in the end zone there that negated the DK touchdown. You settle for a field goal. It's 15-10. At that point, the Lions have held the ball for just 51 seconds in the 3rd quarter, but you're like, man, we should have more than a 5-point lead here.
Yeah, you should be like pulling away a little more and be a little more comfortable in this.
Yeah, there's just so much minutia to dig into from that game.
And Boswell makes that kick 99.9% of the time, and we probably aren't talking about what a crazy game it is. It's just over.
And he
smacks it off the upright.
He drills a 59-yarder, but then misses what for him is like a layup for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and that stuff happens. You're right.
It sure does.
We're swimming upstream there for a little.
It sure does. But 481 total yards for the Steelers offense, Matt. They lost the turnover battle and won a game, which is something that
doesn't happen very often.
And hey, it was only one. The Lions didn't turn the ball over. You just had the Darnell Washington. So it's a 1 advantage.
Yeah,
it's not huge. 2 or 3, which ends up being bigger. But to me...
But there were 2 4th downs that the Lions didn't get.
Exactly right.
But
right.
You gave the ball back on a field goal,
And the Steelers were 2 for 2 on 4th downs. Massive. And
in instances, I'm not sure they would have went for in September.
100%. That's something I had in my notes. Like, the Steelers are
adapting.
In the 2nd and 3rd quarter, they were operating as 10 points ain't going to be enough to win this game. 12 points isn't going to be enough to win this game.
We're not going to grind this thing out like it's a Ravens fist fight in the weather.
We might have these guys frustrated and limited right now, but that's not going to last forever. 10 points. We're not going to hold them to 10 points here the entire second half.
Gibbs and Williams and St. Brown. I mean, they're just too good.
8 for 16, 50% on 3rd down conversions. That's elite.
And a lot of them are long.
2 for 2 on 4th downs. You're absolutely right. And then, Matt, what one of the things that I think loomed crazy large, and they won time of possession and all these things again decisively that we had been talking about. But what really loomed large to me was this Steelers team has relied, it felt like offensively, so much on red zone success. They were 0-3 in the red zone in this game. They got the touchdowns from explosives.
From explosives. They've had very few explosive runs this year.
Very few, and they had a handful in that game. But the other side of that is they held the Lions to just 1 of 4 in the red zone.
It's huge.
And that's a Lions team that has a lot of ways to beat you and hurt you down there near the goal line, that likes to get aggressive themselves down there near the goal line. That's kind of one of Dan Campbell's things. Like they rarely kick field goals from their own red zone.
They score a lot of touchdowns, right?
A lot of those weighty moments, weighty downs, as Mike Tomlin would call them. I thought the Steelers won a lot more than they lost, and that really ended up making a huge difference. And when the 60 minutes was in the books.
There's a mental toughness to that. There's an experience factor to that. Another thing we talk about a lot more and more is the Steeler defense has been really good at taking away the best things. A Chan, Taylor, Jacobs, those guys didn't destroy you. Chase the second time around, And yes, you look at the box score, St. Brown, Williams, and Gibbs have some numbers.
Yeah.
But to the Lions' credit, it was Raymond. It was these tight ends that weren't even getting targeted before. It was Tesla. It was some of those kinds of guys.
There was, with Raymond one time, there was a hilarious moment on the broadcast where he had like back-to-back catches, I think. He only had one catch coming into the year, is that right? And then he had back-to-back.
I'm not sure.
But one of the Lions tight ends, maybe it wasn't Raymond, but the other guy, only had one catch coming into the season. And then he had 2 back-to-back.
Oh, it was the tight ends,
on the same possession.
Yeah.
and Max,
we got to cover that guy?
Max goes, that wasn't in the scouting report. And Rob King goes, what scouting report? He had one catch all year.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't since Laporta's been out, they don't throw the tight ends at all.
At all.
And they were getting those guys involved, They were taking away their big hitter. You made them play left-handed.
Yes, you made him play left-handed, and eventually they started to make some plays left-handed.
They did.
But it was too late, and they were playing catch-up that whole time. And like I said,
and the run defense was just A+.
Was dynamite. And in the grand scheme of things, the most encouraging part to me was we've seen so many times in the past where the offense is faltering, just went 3 and out, or maybe picked up 1 first down and then had to punt and put the defense right back on the field. And here comes the defense. We're expecting these guys to answer again and again and again. That shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, offense, time to answer. Okay, time to answer again. Okay, time to answer again. And they did it every time. And for me, you and I touched on this a little bit last week, and maybe we can talk about this more after the break here. But what was the ceiling on this Steelers team, and particularly the offense? That game yesterday, those 3.5 hours yesterday, I think changed my opinion a little bit.
Yeah,
because
it definitely did.
It's the first time we've seen the offense lead from the front, like they did against Miami.
Yeah.
Lead from the front, build up such a big lead that you're in great shape. But it's very rare this year and really in the post-Ben era to see the offense go, defense just gave up a touchdown, no problem, we got this, here comes another.
We'll
defense just gave up a touchdown, no problem, we got this, here comes another. You're
dictating the terms a little bit more as opposed to, oh no,
And that's what you got to do to win in January, my friend.
It is.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, cross some T's, dot some I's. I'm still waiting to hear back from Rob King if we're going to have him today or not, but Matt and I have plenty.
Week.
It is a wacky week, as I think I saw old Jolly St. Nick out there, plotting out his route for Wednesday night. We've got plenty more to get to as we roll along. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Still plenty to download from this game.
Oh, tons.
But
there's a lot going on in the league, and there's games tonight, and we're here to talk Steelers, but wow, there's just a lot going on.
So much.
And we got to cram it into a couple days.
Yeah,
right.
Yep. We will have Wednesday, Thursday off to kind of give everybody the picture of the week. We'll have Wednesday, Thursday off. We'll be with you tomorrow. We'll be with you Friday to get ready for the Browns on Sunday, of course. But 2 days off this week, 3 shows, and so a lot of cramming and moving and shaking, certainly. As we hit this holiday stretch, home stretch of the season. Matt, you know what yesterday's game kind of reminds me of? Did you ever, were you ever like caught up in an incident in school where you didn't really do anything wrong, but maybe like your boys or your friends did something wrong and you were kind of roped in?
No, I was the one that did everything wrong.
You were the one that did everything wrong. I mean, I
No, but I
typically
know
was.
you feel like
I
that,
typically was too, but
Right.
there was a couple times where guilty by association growing up, and you're like trying to explain it to your parents and you're trying to remember the details. No, well, I didn't, but Timmy did this, and then Johnny did that, and then Ryan punched Frank, and then there was a little scrum, and you're trying to like remember, well, wait, well, what happened first? Well, did Johnny say this or did Ryan do that? That's kind of what last night is like for me. Like I'm trying to remember every detail.
A quick little story, but there was another Matt Williamson in my grade school that was like a year or two younger than me.
Okay.
That was a good kid, good student, etc. I didn't really know him real well.
That's hilarious.
But he had to change his name to JP because he used to get in trouble for things I did. At least that's the way it was told to me.
Matt
maybe he stole
Williamson
it
was here.
or whatever he told, whatever he changed his name to.
That's
I forget.
hilarious.
But
I love
whatever,
that.
right.
That's a great story.
Yeah. Maybe I'm embellishing, but that was 1980. But
Shows a while
he
ago.
did switch his name, and he got in trouble for things I did on several occasions.
Yep. Just trying to like explain everything to your parents and remember every detail. And
Wasn't me, Mom.
This is how that went down and that went down. That's kind of a lot.
No, but
like,
I'm with you in terms of this game. The timeline on it's pretty foggy for me on a Monday.
I
Yeah.
typically am excited to go back and rewatch the games on Monday. As you know, like I'm working during the games. I'm watching. I'm in the press box. I got a great vantage point, but I'm still
We
working.
all consume it differently.
Yeah,
right,
like I'm not just feet up watching notes, all that stuff. Like I have a job to do, you know? And sometimes Missy's like I'm getting some feedback here and I got to go back and mess with the wireless signals and stuff like that. I'm typically excited to go back and watch games. I'm very excited to
yeah.
go back
you'll like this one as much
to go
as
back
any, right?
and watch this one just because of, again, all the details, all the minutia, all the stuff that happened. And again, I mean, we're almost an hour into this thing and we've barely mentioned Kenneth Gainwell, Matt.
I mean,
one of the
ridiculous play.
One of the most improbable catches I think that you'll ever see, and then the wherewithal, the mind to go, I can get up and walk this thing in the end zone. I haven't been touched. Like, just incredible. And that's maybe like the 5th or 6th or 7th craziest thing that happened.
And usually that's number one, right?
And usually that's number one. And man, I don't know what next year's going to hold for Kenneth Gainwell, Matt, but I know it's going to include a payday for that guy. He has been outstanding right when this team needed him to be.
So a big theme that I was talking about on the previous show that I mentioned, my first show that is reacting to the game, is this organization changes more than a lot of our listeners think. And I think the running back position is a pretty good example. Like Roman Wilson, Caleb Johnson, you guys can't even get hats anymore because it's not that your career's buried and in the grave and have no chance of helping or ever being good or they're busts or anything like that. But we're done kind of waiting.
And they're not late 6th or 7th round picks.
No, these are pretty serious investments.
Recent day two picks.
Talented young men, but we're not waiting around for you to develop because we got bigger things to do right now. It's not developmental time. And where I'm going with this is I'm certain the plan was Caleb Johnson's going to be your early down back. Warren's going to get an expanded role from Najee. And Gainwell's a nice guy that
kind of a gadget piece.
Yeah, he's going to return kicks for you. He'll come out there on some 3rd and longs. He'll be out there as a spot player, as what I call a satellite back.
But you'll rarely make it through an entire season, 17 games of both of your running backs being healthy.
And
like
you'll need
him at some points.
Right.
Yeah.
Warren will go down and he'll back up Johnson or vice versa. But to their credit, every time they've adapted too. Like this guy's better than we thought. He's demanding touches. I mean, it's almost become now. It used to really bother me. I mean, the running back room's been an interesting story.
It
has. I'm like, why does Gainwell have to play on every 3rd down? There was a stretch a month or so ago. I'm like, I don't mind him being out there, but if it's 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 20, why does he have to be out there on 3rd down? Let's just do here's a series for you, here's a series for you, or make it a little less predictable in terms of usage. And now they're basically just interchangeable pieces these last couple weeks. And this is the 2nd week in a row he's gone over 100 yards from scrimmage. It's the 4th out of 6 games he's gone over 100 yards from scrimmage.
That's impressive.
All they could talk about on the broadcast was Steelers think this guy has the best hands on the team. Rodgers thinks he has the best hands on the team.
Rodgers loves that dude, man.
Yeah, he does. And I remember being at camp with you, and one of my first analysis of him live was he runs wide receiver routes.
Crisp route runner.
Yes, not just drift or running back trying to do wide
fluid
receiver
hips,
stuff.
crisp, in and out of his routes, that twitchiness that we talk about.
He looks like a wideout, and I'm like, okay, that's better than I thought.
Hey, 5.6 yards per carry on the ground, 15.6 through the air. As you mentioned, well over 100 yards, all but 138 or 128, pardon me, and a touchdown.
And this isn't a one-off like I thought maybe the Dublin game was. It was like, okay, you got thrust in there, you did well.
You needed him to get you out of a stadium, and he did it.
This is who he is.
And a lot of explosives for the offense, Matt. I mean, Warren, the 2 long 45-yard touchdown runs. Gainwell had an 18-yard run. Jonnu Smith had a 20-yard run. I mean, that's kind of what we've been begging for.
Pursuit had a good joke. I promised I would steal and put on the air, too. He said,
tell me.
Well, they had 3 45-yard touchdowns.
Yes, which is hilarious.
Exactly
right. 40, and all 3 to running backs. I mean, I know Gainwell was a pass, but all 3 to running backs.
But Pursuit had something along the lines of best 45s that have come out of Detroit since Motown. Pretty good.
You got to know some music references to get that one.
And some people out there probably are like, what's a 45?
That's a vinyl record reference for all you millennials and younger out there.
And he did the same thing. He's like, a record is this thing that looks like a disc that you put a needle on,
you used
and
to drop
music
a needle
came out
on,
of it.
and you couldn't skip songs. You just had to let it play through.
But pretty well done.
That's a very good one by Pursuta there.
I told him I'd steal it.
Matt, you and I wanted to make sure to get to this and kind of our downloading of our thoughts here in the first hour. We had talked a lot about how Detroit, that Lions defense, loves to stay in their base formation, more so than anybody else, just for defensive backs on the field. How would you go about attacking that? How would you go about trying to spread them out?
Yeah, you're going to do more 11. What are you going to do? Yeah, right.
The Steelers played a season-high 23 snaps out of empty personnel yesterday. 7 of those 23 went for first downs.
Wow, okay. Now, that doesn't mean they had 5 wide on the field and it was...
Sure.
Yeah, but they were empty, spreading people out, making you defend every blade of grass.
Basically, 1 out of 3 snaps in that empty personnel, you were moving the chains for a first down.
It's great.
Pretty close to 1 out of 3. Yeah. I mean, that's the type of, okay, here's how we attack. We're not going to try and do what we just do on offense. Here's how we're going to tailor it to specifically attack that defense.
Which I think is another thing that's really changed with this organization from top down. Too.
Totally.
We're going to adapt.
It feels like especially like post, I don't know, late October, early November time frame, like really in the last 6 weeks or so.
Now, I definitely know the organization after the Bills game all really looked themselves in the mirror.
Some soul searching.
A lot of people could have been like, that was just a one-off. We're going to stick with what we're doing. No, we're going to change. We're going to start going for it on 4th down. We're going to start throwing in the middle of the field. We're going to start using different people. We're going to play. We're not going to run outside zone as high a percentage. We're going to adapt to the team as opposed to having them adapt to us. All these things. I mean, and who's on the field.
I don't want to be a product of my environment.
Right.
I want my environment to be a product of me.
Exactly.
And I think at times in the past, this season, and maybe over the last couple of years, certainly too, when the Steelers, I think, were more limited with what they were working with at the quarterback position.
That has a lot to do with it. You better cards in your hand.
You could,
especially in terms of adaptability. He's the most adaptable guy.
Some of it was like, if you got red paint, you have to paint the barn red. I don't have any green paint. How do you want me to paint the door green when I don't have any? But I think there was also some fair criticism of, you were losing your way as opposing to try to win a different way. I do think there's been
a fine line there. Yeah.
There's a very fine line there.
They definitely have more paint now. More colors.
They have more paint now, which helps, and I think they've got a little bit more willing to say, hey, last week we were heavy on the red paint and we had success doing it. But this week we're going to have to go with the purple paint. And we can have, whereas in the past with that purple paint, you probably couldn't have had as much success. Where now,
you run into some teams that are red paint killers.
Exactly.
We love red paint.
We love red. Buffalo Bills love red paint.
Right, yeah.
Well, here comes and the Lions love red paint. You gave them blue paint instead. For 3.5 hours. And
it's pretty public knowledge. I guess the receivers went to Arthur Smith and the coaching staff. Hey, we like this stuff better. And there's been more back and forth. And it's not just we're the coaches, do what you say. Right.
And
I'm sure the quarterback has a lot to do with that.
This is the time of year, too, 100%, that you want to see that kind of stuff happening.
I want every input from Rodgers I could possibly get.
You and I we stated this back in September. Like, winning games early in the year is great.
It is.
But what
and they count the same, but
I think I said this back in September. What really matters is hitting your stride when St. Nick is about to slide down that chimney.
Mm-hmm.
Being relatively healthy. Okay, maybe that's up in question.
Yeah, but every team.
But every team. Look at the
NFL's
Lions had their
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
We know the Ravens have many issues in the injury department. No one's playing the fiddle for you.
No,
playing a sad song for you and weeping for you. But it really is feeling like it is coming together at the exact perfect possible time. And
all the air can come out of that balloon. You can lose your next two.
Totally.
I mean, that's just how the league works.
That is how the league works.
But
and as
how
we've
they're sitting
highlighted
right now, you should be excited.
Feels like even more so this year than others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in that, if you're hitting your stride at the right time, that gives you more reason for excitement because it feels like a lot of these other teams in the league, and particularly in the AFC, are still trying to figure out their formula.
They're all flawed, including the Steelers. But
absolutely.
They're all flawed.
But who's really hitting their stride right now? You could make an argument. Patriots haven't looked their best the last 2 weeks. The Broncos didn't look great this past week.
Houston didn't blow anybody out.
Houston, struggled against what we think is the worst team in the league.
I mean, the team that has the most momentum at the minute is Jacksonville.
Yes.
I mean,
which
this was
Jacksonville
Nation Radio. You'd be like, we might be the best team in the AFC.
This is awesome.
Let's roll.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And the pin could pop in a minute on this.
Totally. Hour in the books, another hour to go. Some more on the Steelers offense and plenty around the NFL to recap a wild Week 16 and what it all means for your Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll do that and more in hour number 2 here on The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson at Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here on The Drive on a Victory Monday where we're enjoying that victory a little bit more so than some of the others recently as the Steelers win their 3rd straight and are now in fantastic playoff position. We will talk a little bit more about that here in this hour, Matt. But basically, Ravens play at Lambeau Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, short week.
They lose
short
that.
Week's important.
They lose that, you're in.
Yes, and
or even if they win that, you beat the Browns Sunday, you're in. So there's potential that, as you mentioned, both of those games could not matter if the Ravens don't take care of business.
You could clinch sitting on your couch
Saturday night.
Yeah,
and it's going to be Huntley versus Malik Willis. It looks like.
I was curious about that. I don't know. Do we know that for sure?
Not for
Monday?
sure, but
Okay.
Jordan Love picked up a concussion, and it's going to be a shorter week for them.
Yes,
which makes me think. That's a tough
flip.
And then Lamar, man.
I just heard day to day, but they're not going to tell you he's out on a Monday.
But it's also like I think you're at a point with him where I know this is not how NFL teams think and operate. Every game is the end of the world. We have to win. It's the beauty of this league.
That's why we're paying him and all of that stuff. But
he's had an ankle, he's had a knee, he's had a hip, he's had a back this season. At some point, I might just shut him. I might just be like, this is it. This is not worth his next.
He's
6
the
or
most
7.
important thing in the franchise.
He's the most important piece of the franchise.
You're risking the golden child.
Do I need to trot him out there at 7-7 or whatever they are right now? And
I know.
Try and drag myself. I don't know.
I mean, I understand both sides. I mean, anything possible to get in the playoffs, sure. But he's also not as good when he's out there that he just takes over games either. He's obviously way better than Huntley. Side note, and I don't think this will affect the Steelers, but in our quarterback conversation of offseason and moving around, Willis is somebody the team should be interested in. Yeah, I mean, he's come a long way since Tennessee and the tiny school he went to.
Liberty,
yeah. I mean, he's better than Huntley. He gives them a better chance. If it's backup bowl, I'll take Willis.
Everyone talks how historically bad that quarterback draft class is, and I kind of agree. But Malik Willis has turned into a viable NFL player.
He's going the right direction, at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ritter looks shot, Pickett looks shot.
Yes.
Some of the
I guess Brock Purdy was in that class too. But Corral has never done anything.
Some of the mid-round picks didn't work out.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think Willis has. After what looked like, okay, this guy doesn't have much. He looks like he belongs in the National Football League. Certainly.
You knew he had ability. He was just the most simplistic offense you ever saw.
Yes. And we'll get to that more here in just a minute, but let's talk about the first game on Saturday as we kind of recap a massive Week 16 around the National Football League. The Eagles, They go to D.C., well, I guess technically Maryland there, right? And they did what we kind of thought they were going to do. It was a little bit closer for comfort until the fourth quarter when they kind of pulled away, but the Eagles take care of business 29-18 against Washington.
Yeah, and I'll be frank. I mean, there was college football going on. There was a Kentucky basketball game that was on TV, too. My son was there. It was,
Kentucky hoops forever.
Yeah. But I was at a family Christmas party, so
nice.
We were hanging all day. This is the game I saw the least of, but it didn't really look like it was ever really in jeopardy. And Philly, the better team, as expected, and so
this is when I was on the plane for,
you were probably
for
on the
a
plane.
lot of this game. So I'm with you.
So I had very little to take away.
I didn't watch a ton of this either, but if there was one game this weekend that I couldn't watch a ton of, that might have been the one that I picked.
Yeah, exactly. It worked out great.
But
I mean, if the first game would have been the early one, I would have changed my plans.
This Saturday night, different story. If Steelers-Lions wasn't the game of the week, Bears-Packers certainly might have been Saturday night at Soldier Field, one that you and I spent a few minutes previewing. Matt, I think the Bears are for real. I think the Bears are legit. I mean, they're 11-4. I'm not breaking any news there. But, man, Caleb Williams, I think if you are a Bears fan, you have to be as high as you've been on this team and this quarterback.
Over the moon.
The fourth down, facing pressure, play to score at the end and tie the game up, that pass and play by him, and then obviously the game winner perfectly dropped in a breadbasket and a great catch by DJ Moore. That could have very well been and I know he's had some very good games this year, but that could be
he's had a lot of moments, yeah.
That could be the coming out party for Caleb Williams of like, okay, watch out, this guy's going to be a top 10 quarterback now for the next 10 years.
Yeah, we were talking about quarterback classes, like May's already there. Daniels was there last year.
Nix is coming along.
Yeah, Nix didn't have his best day, but he's had a really good season. Team's in his first place.
Yeah.
And you look at Williams, be like, he's going to be in that conversation of Sando's tier 2 that could get the tier 1 guy this early in his career. And my big takeaway of the Bears is they're not just a cute story. They're good. I mean, they can hang with. They had their own injuries as well. And they're at least a year, if not 2, ahead of schedule. I mean,
Totally.
That's the thing. They're just like way ahead of schedule.
6-1 at home, Matt. And what I told you is one of the more raucous environments we've seen this season. That's going to be a tough place for anyone. They're not going to get the 1 seed in all likelihood. But
they're going to host a game probably.
But they're going to host a game, maybe 2.
They're pretty happy the Lions lost.
Absolutely,
Lions hated seeing that result. And,
that's going to be a tough place for anybody to go into because that is a
When's the last time they hosted a playoff game? It's been a while.
Probably when Cutler was the quarterback.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Or maybe that 1 year under Trubisky when they had the double doink against the Eagles. So 2019, I think that was. Would have been
not
the
a
last
lot
time
over the last. Not many since Ditka.
No, I mean kind of like the Steelers. It's been a long time since the Steelers have hosted a playoff game. They've been in the playoffs, but they haven't hosted one
on the road
since Blake Bortles in the the COVID game against the Browns. But I'm talking
was anybody there?
There were 7. I'm talking 67,000 terrible towels in full effect.
Just in terms of environment walking into.
Yeah, I mean, I was still working in Philadelphia the last time the Steelers hosted a true home playoff game. It's been even longer than that for the Bears, or maybe about that same timeline.
But I don't envy who has to go to Chicago, to your point.
No chance. They're 6-1 at home this year. That's a fan base that is like they're sharks in the water and that the chum is there and they are ready to go. And speaking of which, I texted this to you and TV, but maybe other than Chicago, I was very impressed by the Detroit crowd.
Oh, really?
You saw terrible towels. You see them everywhere that we go. That's what Steeler Nation does. But this was maybe, along with Chicago, the fewest that I've seen all year.
Okay.
Lions fans.
We kind of predicted that.
Lions fans held on to their tickets, man. Like, there were Steeler fans there, but it was not anywhere close to a takeover. It was not anywhere close to, we're going to have their offense on silent counts. It was maybe the fewest terrible towels I've seen all year in a stadium.
Okay. I'm glad you confirmed that because the broadcast had that feel to it, too.
Despite this year obviously not going the way that the Lions have wanted it to after a couple really good years, that they did not, it's a holiday season. This year isn't going our way. I'm selling my tickets to Steelers fans. Like they held on to their tickets, and there's always a Steelers contention, but it was maybe the least amount of road game presence that we've seen so far to this point. In Cleveland, Matt, a little closer than I think anybody thought, but the Bills able to get it done, 23-20 over the Browns. Another massive day for James Cook, and Myles Garrett does not get that sack.
He got a half of one.
He got a half of one.
Right.
That's right. Which means that
there was a lot of controversy. There was a sack, and he was involved, and then they went back and switched it. So he got half a sack.
So he's now tied with TJ and Strahan, correct?
Behind.
Or is a half behind?
He's a half behind.
Can't let that happen next Sunday in Cleveland.
No, exactly. I've just started to do a little bit of Browns preliminary results, preliminary scouting here as I do on Mondays. I'm trying to fast forward it because everything's happening quicker this week.
Sure.
Offense is a mess right now. I mean, they're on a bunch of backup linemen. This was not
Judkins got hurt.
Judkins got hurt. They really don't have anything at running back. Everything's through Fannin. But the defense is hanging around, and they were competitive early on, and then Buffalo didn't really have to rely on Allen all that much. Cook had a big game, as you mentioned, and they road trip or business trip for the Bills that took care of business. Check that off the list,
Yep, 4th straight win for Buffalo, and they're another
playing well. Yeah.
They're another one of those teams that is getting hot at the right time. And as you and I have discussed, they're kind of built for this weather and this time of year. And
they're feeling good about themselves right now.
Totally,
yeah.
Totally. Chargers go to Dallas, and they explode in the second half. It was a 4-point game at the half. Chargers shut out the Cowboys. They keep winning. And I tell you what, I've thought to them kind of a ton of credit. Herbert should probably be getting some conversation, some buzz in the MVP talk.
He's under pressure all the time.
Harbaugh Mike Pursuita's not here, is he? Because he might bust in this door and
right.
and blindside me in the jaw.
Coach.
But Harbaugh should be getting shouts for Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good candidates, and he's not going to get it, but he's a great coach.
I've never really thought the Chargers were dangerous, but I tell you what, they finally get Omari and Hampton back in the way that he was running.
Yeah.
I might be changing
McConkey and those receivers are good.
Despite, as you and I said in the first hour, every team in the NFL has injury attrition this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, the Chargers might be at the top of that list in terms of key guys that they've lost.
Yeah.
And they're 11-4.
And they just keep winning, right?
And they might at least be able to run the football now. And again, that's a team I wouldn't want to see in the playoffs.
I don't know who I want to see and who I don't.
If you're asking me, it's them or Buffalo or Houston coming to Acrisure.
Right.
I would probably pick them.
Me too.
But
of the teams that are going to the playoffs, they might be my choice. But they beat Steelers. I mean, they're good.
Every year it feels like there's one, maybe two teams that kind of limp into the postseason.
Yeah.
That's not the case this year. It feels like
they're roaring.
Houston, Buffalo, the Chargers, the Steelers, like Jacksonville, all getting hot at the right time.
Dallas seems to have fallen off a little since they got eliminated, and like Quinn and Williams didn't play in this game, and their defense was really, really bad in this game too. That's worth noting.
Big time. The Titans, Matt, get just their 3rd win of the season. Oh no, they're ruining their draft position.
Yeah.
26-9 over the Chiefs. Cam Ward played well, and maybe the best game of his rookie season against.
They've run the ball for a couple weeks in a row, pretty decent.
Yeah, Pollard had over 100 yards.
I don't know if you saw though. I mean, Minshew blew out his knee early in the game.
Mm-hmm. They had to go to Oladokin.
I always kill his name.
However he pronounces his last name.
We're familiar with him
Pittsburgh
around
Steeler.
here, and I'm kind of shocked he's still in the league.
Yeah, and the Chiefs. I
not
mean,
your year. We could talk about them in the offseason.
Packing it up, and hey, maybe Chiefs fans are happy. Like, let's just lose out here and get the best draft pick that we can. But
in their case, it might not be such a terrible thing. It's not like they forgot how to win. But if I can get a better,
if I can get the 11th pick instead of the 18th,
a real
pick,
impact player.
Yeah, totally. Bengals go down to Miami. First start for Quinn Ewers did not go well. Joe Burrow throws it all over the yard. And the Bengals 45-21, another fan base that I was like laughing because all these Bengals accounts that I see on social media are like, great, yeah, now we're going to rattle off a bunch of wins at the end of the season and lose our top 10 draft pick. But the Bengals get their 5th win of the year.
Winning matters, man.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this sport, they celebrate in the locker room and you build something, and I think winning's good for the Bengals. I don't know what Miami's going to do in terms of jobs and things like that. Ewers made a throw or two, but he's way in over his head. Yeah. I mean, Chase Brown was a madman in this game. I mean, Cincy has some things to be excited about.
Yes, they do. As do the New Orleans Saints. 29-6. They dominate the Jets. The Saints now quietly are playing pretty well. 3 wins
they keep winning too
in a row, and your Tyler Shuck Rookie of the Year prediction is looking better and better as he throws for over 300 and a touchdown. Matt, this is another one of those. I think it's good for them because, again, like, winning in football, it's such a cultural thing that it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to build and it's easy to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. They got some older guys on defense that know the value of winning too.
They were 2-10 just a few weeks ago and looking like a first or second or third overall pick. Now they're 5-10 and moving back closer. But it's okay.
First-year head coach. It's been a successful year for the Saints.
They might not pick in the top 3 anymore, but they might have their head coach and their quarterback of the future, which is way more valuable.
Way more valuable. Right. I'm not saying that they're necessarily like the Bears with Caleb and Johnson, or the Jags with.
They might be a year away from being that.
That's what I said. I mean, it's good first step to having the most important pieces in place.
A team that is looking like they might be locking in that number 1 seed. Our number 1 draft pick, is the New York Giants. They fall at home 16-13 to the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy.
Both these quarterbacks. Yeah. McCarthy got hurt.
Right. And just.
I mean, we saw some bottom-rung quarterbacks this past weekend in Kansas City, in Minnesota.
Cook in New Orleans.
Was another one. Ewers. We saw some dudes that shouldn't be out there. And Dart really had a rough game again, did nothing against this defense, is constantly putting himself and the ball in harm's way. We'll talk. These are more offseason conversations. But if they end up with the first pick, I don't know that it's insane to think about Mendoza. Like the Steelers kind of went through this with Pickett. If you draft a guy 20th overall, like hypothetically, if Derek Harmon looked terrible in his rookie year, would that prohibit you from taking a defensive tackle next year? Of course it wouldn't.
No.
I mean, back in the day, like Jamarcus Russell and Sam Bradford, their contracts, they made more than anybody else in the building. Like
right.
Getting out of Dart isn't hard at all.
No.
It's like, move on.
Like not even a top 20 pick.
Right. I think he was like 24th or something like that.
You might even be able to get a day 2 pick for him.
Right. If you fall in love with Mendoza or,
It's a fair point.
But there was some bad quarterbacking in that game. Real bad.
Yeah, there sure was.
Yeah.
Matt, in what was one of the more important games of the weekend, wasn't the sexy Chicago, Green Bay, Jags, Broncos, Patriots, Ravens, Steelers, Lions headliner, but meant just as much, if not more, was in the NFC South in Charlotte, where the Panthers hosted the Bucks.
Yeah.
And how about those Carolina Panthers? They move ahead of Tampa Bay with a 23-20 win. I did not see this coming.
I didn't either.
Baker Mayfield looks like he's regressing big time down the stretch here.
To me, that's the story.
That's the story.
It's like the receivers are getting healthier.
What has happened to him in that offense?
Right. He's playing like he gets some of this, thinks he's Josh Allen talent-wise disease. And I also think he has some injuries. And their coordinator got hired 2 years in a row. And it's hard to hire 3 good ones in a row, and I don't know that they did.
Totally.
And I think that's a big part of it. And you're not milking the best out of Mayfield at this point. Now he's trying to do too much, but Carolina's a really good story. I mean, I doubt them over and over, and I don't think they'll win a playoff game. But
no, the Rams will go there and beat them by 3 scores. But
Ted McMillan and Coker and these running backs, and they're trending the right direction too.
They are. I still don't know about Bryce Young and his long-term future there, and they're kind of playing themselves out of the drafting a quarterback range in the draft.
He's going to be their quarterback next year for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
But they are one of the more surprising stories in a good way this year in the NFL. Certainly, they are now in first place in the NFC South, and I don't think any of us saw that coming even as early as a month or 2 ago, certainly.
I mean, if you ask me in training camp, here's the 2 spots. They're either going to pick first overall or go to the playoffs. I'd be like, they're picking first overall.
Yes. Right. Great way to frame it.
If I had to make one of those choices.
Another one of the all eyes on this game type of clashes on Sunday was at Mile High in Denver, where the Broncos hosted the Jags. And Matt, for the
Jags are playing great.
For the second straight week, Trevor Lawrence looked like the best quarterback in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and they comfortably
really since they traded for Myers.
Comfortably.
And the Parker Washingtons and Brenton Stranges and all these guys. And I'm like, why don't we throw Hunter in that mix next year? And they're really trending in the right direction. I've been equating them to the Bears. And I think that there's a lot of similarities there, that they're not fluky. First overall pick, new head coach, offensive-minded guy. There's a lot to be afraid of. I don't know if they're a contender or not. I bet there's not a fan base happier. Steelers are close on Monday than Jacksonville right now.
Yeah.
In terms of where
Chicago.
Your team's at. Yeah, Chicago's up there too. But, I mean, I'm still not convinced they can win the Super Bowl.
I don't know if their defense is good enough.
Yeah.
But man, they are a dangerous team.
Massively trending in the right direction.
Matt, the Broncos were unblemished at home this season. As you and I talked, that's one of the better atmospheres in the National Football League, and you combine that with the altitude. It's a tough place to play. They went in there and won by 2 touchdowns, handed them their first loss of the season at home.
Beat them soundly.
An impressive performance by the Jags.
My hunch on Denver, though, is not that it's a one-off, but they didn't play their best game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be panicked. I wouldn't be panicked if I was a Broncos fan today.
They could still go to the Super Bowl, or who knows.
But the race for the 1 seed in the AFC is back on. As now there's a lot to play for between the Broncos and the Patriots down the stretch.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
This might be a tomorrow thing, but I don't know the seedings and how people can clinch and all that stuff.
Maybe we'll get into that a little bit here on the other side.
Yeah, okay.
Falcons go to Arizona. Matt, the Cardinals continue to, maybe right there with the Raiders, like most lifeless teams going right now. Giants and Jets in that conversation too, but the Cardinals started 2-0, folks. I know that's hard to remember.
This feels like every week's the same.
They are now 1-12 since starting 2-0. They've shut a lot of guys down. I don't know if there's a ton for the Falcons to hang their hat on.
I don't know what to take out of this game.
Other than the Falcons aren't terrible. No. They're not a playoff team, but they're not a disaster. They're right in that mushy middle.
I just feel like both these teams are kind of playing out the string, and we'll see if there's coaching changes, what happens at quarterback for both teams. I know Penix will be in the mix, but will Cousins? I don't know. Who knows?
The Texans get it done at home. They stay hot. They are now 10-2 in their last 12 after starting 0-3.
It wasn't as easy as you'd think, though, against a miserable team.
I was probably going to say the most signs of life we've seen from the Raiders.
Yes, I think that's
since
safe to
September.
Say. Yeah.
Genti ran the ball well. Geno Smith played pretty well.
Yeah, Genti had a big day. Yeah.
But it wasn't enough. The Texans hold on. They win their 7th straight, 23-21.
They had some O-line issues to creep back up too, and I still feel good about Houston being one of the best teams in the AFC, but this was a slight step back. Kind of like Denver conversation.
Agreed.
But they won.
They've been such a heater too. These guys are human. It's important to remember.
Yeah,
and I have a feeling. I have a feeling this past week, they weren't sitting up as straight in their chair, and it's the Raiders.
It'd be hard to get up for a Raider game right now.
At home, we got the Raiders. We're gonna
give the Raiders a little bit of credit, like you said. They showed a little bit of signs of life.
They didn't roll over and die. That's probably Genti's best game. It's one of Geno Smith's better games, which hasn't been in a high bar for him to clear this year. But regardless. But then, Matt, Sunday night, one that meant a lot to the Ravens, to the Patriots, to the Steelers, to the playoff picture. The Patriots get it done. They erase an 11-point deficit to beat the Ravens, to clinch a playoff spot, and to get right back into the 1-seed conversation in the AFC.
Yeah, and there were a lot of injuries in this game, too, or a lot of neither team's at 100%, and I don't know that I came away thinking either one is a legit Super Bowl type team, especially Baltimore with their quarterback situation, but they had a lot of the same issues. They still get away from Henry a lot. I thought they run the ball pretty well against a pretty banged up defense and putting too much on Huntley, who didn't play terrible. But I think a big story is, Henderson got hurt. Diggs played really well, but May kind of took over. He just started, I'm just going to throw and throw and throw. And
he's really good.
He's really impressive.
Yeah. He's
as if the AFC was short on great quarterbacks.
That's exactly right. And as if the New England Patriots haven't had one of those in a long time. But good for the Steelers. Helps out the Steelers' road here. Makes things a little bit more clear.
Yeah. Results are what we wanted.
Let's talk about, so we kind of ran through the results here. Let's discuss what that means when we return on the other side here in hour number 2 of The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. All right, Matt, so what's it all mean here for the playoff picture across the AFC, across the NFC?
Yeah, I'm behind. I need to know this stuff.
I kind of am, too, because we got in a little late last night, as you can imagine. A couple hours of sleep before the girls woke us up. I got to say, I really like Ford Field. Cool building, cool atmosphere, cool. Ford Field, to me, it's the type of stadium that I like. It's nice enough, but it's also no fancy frills.
It's not real frilly. Yeah.
It's just a cool, well-built stadium.
Does the job.
Close, seats are low to the with the dome and everything. The seats are real close to the field, so even
It
sitting
got
up
loud, I'm sure.
it gets loud, and
Yeah.
even sitting upper deck there, like I wouldn't imagine. It's not a bad. There's not a bad seat in the house type place because it's like if you're in the upper deck, it's not like you're up, high-fiving Jesus up there near the clouds. Like you're
Decent food?
pretty decent food,
Okay.
pretty good spread. They had a barbecue company that actually catered the meal.
Yeah.
So it was like pulled pork and pulled chicken and mac and cheese, and it was
Not bad.
really good. Post-game meal wasn't so good. It was just chicken tenders, and I was kind of hoping for something a little more substantial there, but that's okay. We took the win, and that makes up for the lack of post-game options.
Oh, big time.
But it's also, as you can imagine, a very comforting to be indoors in Detroit in late December is much better than being outdoors.
I always follow Missy on the pregame show,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
listened to her.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm pretty happy I don't have 8 layers on in my heated vest and blah, blah, blah. In
So, like,
December in
after the
Detroit,
game, going to the buses, we get everything loaded on the equipment trucks, all the equipment and everything, and, like, grab our stuff, and we're going to get on the buses, and you have to go, like, out the tunnel to get on the buses. And it was like, it was
pretty
like,
chilly, yeah.
It was like getting hit by Ed Reed across the middle, and he stepped out of that tunnel, and that Detroit wind hit you in the face. For the Lions, they are Monty Python, not dead yet, due to the Bears loss, I believe, right?
Only thing I heard with them is they have like a 17% chance. They won at Green Bay.
7% chance.
Okay.
They need to win out, and they need the Packers to lose out, basically, I believe.
Okay. So what's funny is this Packers-Ravens game has a lot to do with the teams that just played in Detroit.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
What's wild to me, Matt, is that according to analytics, they still give the Bucs a slight advantage, like a 2% advantage over the Panthers to win the division.
Does that game really come down to Week 18 when they meet again?
I would have to assume, based on common opponents and the tiebreakers, that they're saying that one didn't really mean as much for Tampa because if they win Week 18, they'll still be in.
Okay.
That's what I'm gathering here. But Packers, 93% chance to make it. Lions, just 7% chance. So you can see the direct 100% correlation there. Matt, across
Packers are limping in a little bit, though.
They are,
Yeah.
especially from an injury standpoint.
Right.
But everybody else, so you take the Bucs and the Panthers, still a coin flip situation, and then the Packers clearly with you would have to have
They
a
took a big
disaster.
jump forward.
You'd have to take a disaster type, with the Lions loss for them not to make it. Everybody else is locked in. Seahawks, Bears, Eagles, Niners, Rams have all clinched.
I know the Niners clinched by doing nothing yesterday.
Correct.
They play tonight.
And they play tonight against the Colts.
Now I know that all the seedings, like the game still matters to them.
Which is
Right.
funny, too, because if you would have told us in like early October, hey, that Monday night game in San Francisco between the Niners and the Colts, it's not going to matter to one of those teams. Like one of those teams is going to be out of the race, and one of those teams is going to be in. That's right. You're right. Sorry.
But still, right.
One of those teams is going to be out of the race. One of those teams is going to be locked into a playoff spot.
Wow, Indy kept
Would have been like, wow, Indy kept rolling, and those injuries finally caught up to the Niners.
Yeah. Talking about Coach of the Year, they're in that conversation, too.
So the NFC picture, again, the Lions still have a chance, but it's 93%.
We
Packers.
pretty much know the 7 teams.
Pretty much know 6 of the 7 right now, and it's just Bucs or Panthers,
And one of
whoever
them's
ends up.
NFC
Yes.
South champ.
Yes. So the NFC playoff picture, actually, for still having 2 weeks left, is pretty clear.
Pretty clear.
There's not a lot of wiggle room there. And you know what, Matt? The
Eagles are
AFC,
going to win their division. Yeah, right.
the AFC picture looks just about as clear, if not even more so. Broncos and Patriots have both clinched.
Yes.
Jags, 99.8% chance to make the playoffs.
So that must mean like they can't have ties.
I think so.
It has to be something so
I
obscure.
think so.
Not like go 0-2 and other teams go 2-0.
Steelers, 93% chance to make the playoffs. Ravens, just 7% chance.
Wow.
Bills, 99.9. Chargers, 98.9. Texans, 96.2, which is insane to see Houston that high off of where they were a few months ago. Ravens, just a 7% chance. Colts, just a 5% chance.
Okay.
So
the
I guess
Colts still have a lot to play for tonight.
Still tonight with a win are alive.
But I assume if they lose tonight, that 5% goes to 0%.
I believe that would be the case.
And maybe Rivers doesn't play again after that.
And maybe that's it. But honestly,
I bet the NFL doesn't love this.
That's exactly what I was going to say because
it's unusual.
It's especially for the extra playoff team, the 7 team now, the extra 17th game. Like we've talked about how that has been so smart because it's kept teams in the playoff picture late into the season. You sell more tickets, you get more eyeballs, more merchandise, all that stuff.
Nobody wants to see Wolacon,
right now, really the only fan bases that are like, are we in or are we out? realistically, like sitting on that fence are the Bucs and the Panthers. That's it. Everyone else, it's like ironclad. Even if you're Green Bay or the Steelers or the Texans, like you would have to have a colossal historic letdown to miss at this point.
Now, of course, the Steelers could miss the playoffs.
Sure.
That's not inconceivable. And by no means is it time to be like, oh, it's a done deal. That does seem high. I mean, the Steelers could go 0-2.
If you would have told me to guess a percentage,
yeah, that seems high.
I would have said 82%, probably. Like low 80s would have been my guess. It's 93%, which is very. But again, I think when you consider the Ravens have to go on the road to Lambeau and Pittsburgh.
I know.
They would have to win both of those.
And
they would need the Steelers to lose against the Browns, which I know is in Cleveland, but I'm sure the analytics have the Steelers as a 80-some% favorite in that
I was
one.
going to say they're going to be favored in the game at a minimum, if not by 7 or 8 or
so I get it. And I'm sure the Lamar injury is factored into that number.
Oh, it has to be.
Absolutely
and it's a short
has
week
to be.
In Green Bay, it's a terrible place to play. I mean,
especially this time of year.
Right, and they're not playing great. They just lost. I mean, so Baltimore's in a bind.
So it is actually funny. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together in that regard. But yeah, both the AFC and the NFC picture, not nearly. Like, remember last year when we got to this point?
Oh,
it was like the Steelers can make it X, Y, and Z, but they could also do A, B, and C. There were 7 different scenarios of how the Steelers could be in and out.
There weren't nearly as many teams that were like 90% and above.
Right. Yeah. And the Ravens and the Bengals were all really factored in at this point last year. And yeah, man, it's this year quite different. And I think you're right. Not what the NFL wants, although it could
I bet the
set
league's
up.
not thrilled with the Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens. Like, you guys, we expect more out of you to make this thing more of a hunt.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
I'm not sure there's a team in the NFC that qualifies as.
Maybe the Lions. But
I mean, Minnesota won a bunch last year, but someone was going to come in fourth there,
The other side of that, though, is when we get to the playoffs here, 2 weeks from now, you and I will be talking about, here we go, it's wild card week. I think there's going to be no real empty chairs. Maybe we'll say, okay, the Rams are going to go to Tampa Bay or Charlotte. And
they'll definitely be favored in a big way.
Yeah. But other than that, there's going to be not really many empty seats in the playoff picture. Like, these are all, we're going to look at pretty much all these teams and say, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they won the NFC. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they won the AFC.
I think there were people that lumped the Steelers in there.
Absolutely.
I want to go to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that people still think that. And I understand it. I mean, if you look at the 7 likely AFC teams, playing the Steelers, I could see where that would be your first choice if you're the Chargers or the Bills or second place in the AFC South or something along those lines. But you can't tell me that that's not a scarier situation coming to Pittsburgh than it looked a week or two ago. Way scarier.
Way, like boogeyman type stuff.
And this is really getting ahead of ourselves, but they might be able to rest guys 1 or even 2 weeks.
TV and I were talking about that, but while you were finishing up your other show,
if the Ravens get eliminated Sunday night, are you playing Rodgers and Cam and definitely not Watt?
I don't want to give my guys 2 weeks off back to back.
Right.
So maybe I play them the first half against the Browns and then rest them against the Ravens.
Right.
Or a couple series against the Browns, couple series against the Ravens.
Like a Watt situation. I don't know if he could come back or not. Yeah. But you definitely don't rush him back.
Aaron Rodgers, Cam,
right.
Jalen Ramsey,
right. Even a Metcalf, or right.
Totally.
It could set up real well where you're quite rested.
Quick exercise, and we'll continue to do this as we roll down the stretch here. But NFC playoff picture, the NFC aside from the NFC South winner and the Packers, just because of their injury situation.
Yeah, but Love will be back by then.
True, but I still.
But the Parsons injury was huge.
But I think 5 teams in the NFC could win the Super Bowl. Seahawks, Bears, Eagles, Niners, Rams.
I'm not sure the Niners could.
That might be fair.
Yeah.
They're really decimated, too.
Yeah, their defense is they could lose tonight.
AFC, though, it's funny because it's almost like, I don't know if the Broncos can. I don't know if the Patriots can. I don't know if the Jags can. I don't know if the Steelers can. I don't know if the Chargers can.
Right, but one of them's going.
But one of them has to. You could see any of those teams winning the AFC.
Yes.
Any of them.
Certainly Buffalo or, right. Yeah,
any of those teams winning the AFC. So it's a lot of fun.
I bet there'll be upsets
in that regard.
in the AFC.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Right now, the Broncos still have the 1 seed, so it would be Houston going to New England. That could be an upset.
Chargers favored in that
Chargers going to Jacksonville. The Chargers just won in Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. And then, okay, Bills and Pittsburgh, that would be a tough one. Steelers would likely be a home dog by a few points.
They would be.
Not astronomical, but 2.5, 3.5.
We also just saw that game.
And we also
recently,
just saw that
right.
game at Acrisure Stadium as well. But I think any team in the AFC you could see winning the conference. I think in the NFC, maybe other than Niners and whoever wins the NFC South, it's going to be fun. These next couple weeks might be a little anticlimactic now all of a sudden, but I think once we get into January, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Last thing I got on that is I still think the Rams are the best team, and they might blow out the NFC South winner, and we might be looking at them like they're Ohio State a couple weeks ago. Like, you want them or the field? But they're going to have to go on the road over and over and over. We'll see about that part.
We will see about that part. Matt, we've got some breaking news here, not that relates to the Steelers or really anything involving teams in the playoffs, but a AFC team just kind of with a pretty significant announcement about their future that I want to kick around with you in our final segment. We've also got some tweets and some final things to get to. So we'll do all that. Yeah, we'll do all that as we roll along here and wrap up the show on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here on a Victory Monday, wrapping up the drive and smiles and good tidings and all those things here.
Absolutely.
In Steeler Nation. Matt, significant news. This has nothing to do with the games or the players or the playoff picture or anything like that. But the Kansas City Chiefs just announced that they are going to leave Arrowhead Stadium and build a new home in Kansas, because Arrowhead technically in Missouri, because Kansas City is, right on the border there. They announced just in the last few minutes that they plan to abandon Arrowhead Stadium and move to Kansas and build a new facility there, which I get. I mean, Arrowhead is old.
I know it's old. You've been there, though.
I've never been there.
Oh,
That's
you haven't?
One of the few. Levi Stadium in San Francisco, Arrowhead, Jerry World, Superdome in New Orleans. And there's one more that I haven't been to, but there's 5 still that Arizona, State Farm out there in Glendale. Those are the 5 that I haven't been to. I would love to go to Arrowhead because I'm kind of a dork for those historic sites and everything, but I also get it. This is the new. We're seeing it in Cleveland. We're seeing it in Chicago. If you want to host Super Bowls and Final Fours and college football playoff games and all this stuff, like, you got to have the fancy new facility. Nothing about if it'll have a roof or a dome or anything.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
I think it's interesting that they're moving back into Kansas. And yeah, again, I'm
sure it's not far from where Arrowhead is
No, I'm
now,
sure it'll probably only end up being 10 miles, 20 miles, something like that, because it is right on the state border there. But I've
chuckled a few times about your World Cup stuff. Like, I come the city. Stadiums are nowhere near the cities.
San Francisco. I'm going to San Francisco to watch Argentina against France. Wait, the stadium's 60 miles from the city in Santa Clara. What are we doing here?
City, right?
Oh, that European mind is going to be blown by that when they realize that East Rutherford is nowhere close to where they're staying in Manhattan.
Kansas City, that's not in Kansas, but there's places in Kansas.
That's another one.
State,
I'm pretty sure they're hosting World Cup games there at Arrowhead.
Really?
I'm pretty sure actually now that you mention it. So it's like, wait, I got to go to a different state here.
Right. If I went to Ireland City, I would think it's in Ireland.
Yes, correct. Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
I love going to New York City and spending time in Rhode Island this time of year.
That is big news, though.
I get it. Significant news, but I also I love these old
super wealthy organization too.
Yes.
Right.
I love the
I don't know
old
who's financing it
I love the old temples of sport, though. You know what I mean? As much as I do, I love going to the SoFis and the Mercedes-Benz and these places that are just spectacles. I also love the old temples too.
It also made me think of Buffalo's stretch here where they're hosting games for their final year.
They're another one.
I'm sure that final year in Kansas City will be a spectacle of all the hosting, and not like they're not on primetime a lot anyway.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. So that news just kind of caught my eye and thought was worth mentioning for a minute here. A couple tweets, Matt. We had a few people tweet us. We got to laugh about a couple of these. RJ tweets and says, "Wes, I swear if you and Matt both don't pick against the Steelers for the rest of the season on the drive, I'm going to lose my mind."
I think you got to save it. You might have to save it for the wild card round. I'm not sure I'm taking the Brownies.
Yeah, I don't. Spoiler
We'll
alert,
see.
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not.
Unless everyone's rested.
And then there was a couple other funny ones too where let me see.
We got a bunch.
Of course, I'm struggling to find them, but there were a few of you that kind of tweeted like, "Hey guys, you gotta
You already mentioned
make
the
sure
Jalen Warren coming on the show thing, and
Yep.
yeah, a couple people caught on to that. That was good.
Yep. Let's see here. Andre tweets us and says, "Happy Victory Monday. I'm going to really enjoy listening to the show today and talking about this victory over a very good opponent. Looking forward to everything you guys have to say. Happy holidays, and let's not sleep on the Browns. No, let's not sleep
Don't sleep on the Browns. I mean,
Browns.
they would be nothing that would like better to win that game. And Myles Garrett's going to be after the sack thing, and Sanders is trying to make people think, I can be your quarterback.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Stefanski has 100% job security, and
I will tell you this, too, from somebody who will be going there for the fourth time to Cleveland, and it's been a bad Browns team. Like, I started traveling after the Baker Mayfield, OBJ, Landry, won a playoff game here team.
They've been pretty rough.
But they sit up straight in their chair and they pay attention when the black and gold roll into town. It's something it's something Labs could talk about. Like,
that's a good point.
This
could be their Super Bowl type of. Yeah.
This is not Steelers-Ravens where there's a mutual respect and you're great and we're great and we mirror each other and let's go have a 5-star prize fight here for 15 rounds. This is, we hate this big brother who kicks our butt all the time and rubs our face in it. And,
trust me.
Their quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, has like the third most wins at our stadium of all time.
I mean, so we had this event like the day after I got hired in Cleveland where it was at a big bar, like a Dave & Buster's type place, and there was tons of Browns fans. They're the kind of stuff that you guys do on the road, and they introduced us 3 or 4 new scouts. Usually you wouldn't do that, but it was an event like that. They're like, and this is Matt Williamson. He's from Pittsburgh. Screw that guy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm on your team now. I'm wearing Browns gear.
Yeah.
And they immediately the word Pittsburgh came out, and they were not happy about that hire.
That was like one of my first days working at the radio station in Philadelphia. Was a few days after the Pens won the Cup in 2016. So I get my whole credential and badges and all that to scan. It's just like we have here. You got a badge to scan into your workplace and all that. I put it on a 2016 Penguins Stanley Cup champions lanyard, and they were all, all the orange-clad mouth breathers there in Philadelphia.
You would be thrilled with someone walking with Flyers gear right now.
No, I would not. In fact, I might punch him in the face. Kyle was the other one who tweeted, "You and Matt are a perfect 3-0 when you fade the Steelers. Please keep it up."
People are catching on, yeah.
Hey, we do our part. Let's see here. We kind of touched on this, but Christopher tweets us and says, "I know your chickens and counting them from hatching and all that, etc. But if Green Bay beats Baltimore Saturday night, who plays in the last 2 games? How are you guys handling it?" At that point, hard to imagine.
I want to think about that more overnight. But
Same.
I think
I don't want guys resting for 2 weeks.
I always have mixed feelings about that. And again, let's discuss it more tomorrow. It certainly can. Well, I guess we won't get a chance to talk about it Sunday morning if it does happen. I mean, if Week 18 is a wash, I'm sitting everybody. If I need the Browns game,
I'm with you on that.
If the Ravens win,
I'm with you on that.
I'm definitely sitting everybody.
I mean, if the Packers beat the Ravens Saturday night,
if the Steelers have to beat the Browns, yes. If the Ravens win,
gotcha. Gotcha.
Of course, you play everybody in Cleveland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, obviously.
Absolutely.
But if the Steelers win in Cleveland and clinch it, I'm sitting everyone for week 18.
Yes,
everyone.
Yes.
2 games is a little different. Would you play a couple series?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping, and I know that this might go against my black and gold brethren. I'm kind of hoping the Ravens win at Lambeau Saturday night.
Just so you stay sharp.
Stay sharp, and I want the Steelers to, hey, listen, you win the division. Who cares? But I'd rather have them clinch it in Cleveland with a win. You get to celebrate the hats and the T-shirts in the locker room. You did it yourselves. Now you get to rest the next week and put your feet up.
Which is a nice gift.
That would be my ideal timeline. And you would kind of break Baltimore. Baltimore would still be watching on Sunday. Can Cleveland get it done for us? And you shove it up their backside while they're sitting at home.
But it wouldn't be hard to come up with the list. I mean, even Siamalu. I mean, the guys that often take a Wednesday off, or let alone are battling something now. Watt would be off the table for both games, even if he's a possible chance. He's definitely off the table.
I would even Guys like Zach Frazier, I'd let him.
Week 18 only.
Yeah, yes,
all my
week
important
18
guys.
only.
Yes,
Yeah.
all my important guys. Yeah.
So again, we'll have more time to discuss that and kick that around, but I think we're both on the same page there. But yeah, as we're kind of
That would
talking,
be a wonderful gift.
as we're kind of talking this out in real time, I wouldn't hate it if the Ravens won now Saturday night. You still have to stay sharp for week 17. Do it on the road against a divisional foe. Have that fun. Get the hats, get the T-shirts, earn it in the locker room, and then shut it down for a week.
And frankly, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The Browns aren't very good. You should still win that game.
Yes, you should.
You know what I mean? Like if the Ravens win and you have to play your best game, you should still win in Cleveland.
Yes, you absolutely should. So that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to everybody who tweeted. Still unable to get a hold of Rob King. We'll give him some grief next time we talk to him. But plenty more to discuss on the show tomorrow. We'll catch up with Chris Adamski, get all his thoughts on the win. And we'll have our Tuesday rewind as we'll both have an opportunity to rewatch and come up with some final thoughts from that chaotic victory against the Lions. Big thanks to the Village assembled here today. Nathan for producing, TV for doing all the work on the video side of things, and for Matt Williamson, of course, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You know where to find us as always. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.